Hello. When you first suspect that you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and you bring it to your doctor may not believe you. It also may be the case that your doctor is not familiar with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And as such, you may get a certain amount of resistance to help, reluctance to help, or to at least treat for EDS, or to test with an echocardiogram, which all doctors should do once they suspect you have EDS, whether you have it or not. Anyway, this video is about how to sort of get through that process, because you're bound to come up against it. A certain number of us will get lucky because your doctor may see it and be the one who asks if you've heard of it, diagnoses you, and wait for you to gain their agreement, which is how it should be, that your doctor sees things before you do that a doctor wouldn't have to look for. But this is a little different, and so you kind of have to saddle up. The first of many times. But when you have this idea that you may have EDS, you probably learned it from somewhere, and it may be from somebody who noticed your hypermobility. So what you would do at that point is start looking up websites to learn what hypermobility is. And of course you know this part because you've done this part. But print out those resources and make sure that they're reputable. Make sure that they're from a site that specifically supports EDS, or make sure that they're from the National Institutes of Health, or something that's authored by MDs for MDs. It may be hard to read it, but excuse me, ha, jerk. It may be hard to read, but if it has the information that your doctor needs to make a diagnosis that helps you, it's worth deciphering, or at least deciphering enough to know to pass it on to your doctor. So what you're looking for is the word nosology, which is, or the nomenclature. That's how they name and subtype each bit of EDS. What are the different characteristics? There are major criteria and minor criteria. And because of the type of disease that it is, the minor criteria are much, much, much more abundant. So the major ones are the ones you want to pay attention to. Once you have that information, you fax it to your doctor ahead of time. Do not wait until the day of your appointment, or it will not go the way you need it to. And sometimes if you fax it to your doctor ahead of time, they still don't read it until they're right in front of you. And that's a doctor's way of sort of metering the amount of information that they get in during the day, which is a lot. So it's fair, but if they have the opportunity to read it ahead of time, that's golden. So, that said, you can also even call ahead and say, hey, I'm coming in about this. I'm faxing you something. If you would read it ahead of time, it would give you a chance to do some research and may save me a copay or 2 or 6 or whatever. What has happened in the past, and I've heard this story time and time again, so this is just a compilation of those things, is that someone will say, well, I went to my doctor and I said I think I have EDS, and they read the fax, and they said, well, I don't know what EDS is. I'll have to look it up more before I could ever diagnose that, but I don't think this is what it is, because, and what happens is because they don't know enough about EDS to look at the symptoms, but they know enough about the symptom you're having to look at that symptom to sort of zoom in and treat it. And what'll happen is they may treat that the way everybody else gets the same treatment. Like you have a pain, and you go to physical therapy, and then physical therapy, because they hear joint pain, treats for arthritis, but you need the opposite. So maybe you don't have too much scrunching up of a muscle, but it's rather that it's so unstable that it hurts. But they don't really look for instability first, and so you may be prescribed, let's say, a TheraBand, or you may be prescribed a medication that loosens up muscles, a muscle relaxer, and that puts you to sleep for 3 days, or the TheraBand does more harm than good. Until you know that you're working with a physician who is familiar with EDS and looks it up at least, it may be wise to do your own research and then take that to your doctor for discussion. Now, if you are not able to gain agreement with your doctor, um, definitely assess yourself realistically and your behaviors, your expectations from your doctor. And then also, if you simply think, you're just not going to establish a level of communication, regardless of your understanding of your own body or their qualifications as your doctor, regardless of any of that, if you can't establish a level of communication that you can both work with, you're not going to get anything done, and you may as well move on to another doctor. Um, but that said, it is a long and grueling process to find the right doctors and to educate them all. And you will be educating for the rest of your life. So if you weren't a teacher before, welcome to uh, your chance to become one. um, Learn the language, read the books, read the articles that are written on EDS. Don't subscribe to them quite yet, because you'll learn in the process what to discriminate, what information to discriminate and what information to keep that's relevant to you. Um, just because you find it in an EDS journal article does not mean that you have it, that it's true, because there's so much that goes on that you really have to take it with a grain of salt. And things that seem to be going wrong, if you find it in an article that happens with EDS, that doesn't necessarily mean that EDS is the cause. There may be something else going on. So your doctor is aware of this, and that's why they'll say something like, well, I don't know what EDS is, but here's the problem and here's how to treat it. Because they're going to take their best shot at it. They're not just going to let you suffer. They don't go to medical school so that they can leave people suffering. They just don't. But if they don't know how to help you, then they plain old don't. And so, there's a reasonable expectation that every doctor you meet is going to have a limitation somewhere or another place. My jaw hurts. So try not to be unrealistic, but also don't let your doctor be unrealistic about what they know and what they don't know. If they agree to look it up, that's a good doctor. I'll look it up and get back to you. If it's, well, I'm not sure what that is, and so you don't have it, that's a red flag. But there are some excellent doctors out there who are trained in how to be a doctor, and so if you give them something and they have a chance to go look it up, when they come back, they're going to do that good doctor thing that good doctors do and help you through it, and you'll learn together. And that will be better than if you just avoided going to the doctor because they're not going to believe you. Fair enough? Be well.